Okay, so for my detailed storyline breakdown, when we talk about wrestling storylines, most of the time we're really talking about matches. Who's fighting who's winning, who's next. But every once in a while, WWE tells a story that isn't actually all about matches at all. It's about control, it's about permission, it's about who decides what power looks like before anyone ever earns it. And right now, that story is the Vision, and more specifically, Bron Breakker's forced ascension. Because make no mistake, this is not the story of a man clawing his way to the top. This is the story of a man being installed there. First lie, Bron Breakker is being pushed because he's ready. Let's start by dismantling the most common surface level take. You'll hear people say, well, Bron Breakker is just getting pushed because he's a freak athlete. And yes, he is. But that's not the story WWE is telling. Because if this were about readiness, Bron would be winning matches clean, cutting dominant promos, and standing tall on his own terms. Instead, Bron Breakker is being placed into moments, not earning them. He doesn't demand power. Power is arranged around him. That distinction is everything. Point 2. The Vision is not a faction, it's a system. The Vision isn't like the Bloodline. It's not like the Judgment Day. It's not even like Evolution. Those groups were about identity. The Vision is about infrastructure. Paul Heyman, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Bron Breakker. These aren't equals. They're components. Each one represents a different form of leverage. Media influence, political manipulation, physical intimidation, opportunism, and finally, inevitability. Bron Breakker isn't the leader, he's the end result. Point number 3. Adam Pearce blinked, and that's the story. Let's talk about the most important moment in this entire arc, and it wasn't even a match. It was Adam Pearce apologizing. Pearce suspended Bron Breakker. He tried to exert authority, and within a week, that authority collapsed. Not because Bron fought back, not because the locker room rebelled, but because Paul Heyman reframed the narrative. Suddenly, the suspension wasn't discipline, it was injustice. Suddenly, Pearce wasn't a boss, he was an obstacle. And suddenly, reinstating Bron wasn't weakness, it was doing the right thing. That's not a babyface win. That's a system correcting itself in favor of power. And when Pearce not only reinstates Bron, but puts all of the Vision into the Royal Rumble, that's not fairness, that's surrender. Bron Breakker rarely speaks, and that's intentional. Here's something that subtle that WWE is doing brilliantly. Bron Breakker doesn't cut long promos. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't justify his presence, because explanation implies doubt. Bron is presented as something you don't debate. You react to it, or you get run over by it. That's why Paul Heyman speaks around him, not for him. Heyman isn't telling you Bron is great. He's telling you resisting Bron is pointless. That's a very different kind of persuasion. Point 5. The SmackDown invasion was a declaration, not a match. When the Vision showed up on SmackDown, the opponents weren't random. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. That's not just star power, that's philosophy. Each of those men represents a different earned path. Cody fought legacy and expectation. Orton survived generations. Jay escaped a system that defined him, and Sammy clawed upwards through belief, not design. They are living proof that the hard way still exists. And Bron Breakker spearing Cody and Sammy at the end of the night, that wasn't dominance, that was WWE saying the hard way might still exist, but it's no longer required. Sixth, the Royal Rumble is not the destination, it's the test. Here's where most fans misread this storyline. They think the question is Bron Breakker going to the Royal Rumble? That's the wrong question. The real question is, who does WWE allow Bron Breakker to erase? If Bron Breakker eliminates Cody, that matters. If eliminates Sammy, while he was not in the Rumble, that matters more. If Bron eliminated Randy Orton, that was a message. Bron didn't need the win. He just needed to reorder. He just needed to reorder the hierarchy. That's how long-term dominance begins. And that's not what happened in the Rumble. He got eliminated right off the bat by Obafemi, which is going to be one of his main opponents for the next generation of superstars. And that fast elimination from Braun with that masked figure changed the whole thing. Maybe those things that I just talked about are going to happen next year at the Rumble. Paul Heyman's endgame isn't a champion, it's a vacuum. Paul Heyman doesn't chase titles, he chases absence, the absence of resistance, the absence of alternatives, and the absence of hope. His greatest success, Brock, Roman, weren't just champions. They made the roster feel smaller. Bron Breakker is being shaped to do the same thing. Not to dominate matches, but to dominate possibility. Number 8, the most important future beat when Braun chooses, and this is why the story doesn't end tonight. Because eventually, not now but later, Bron Breakker is going to have to make a choice. Not between belts, between being used and being in control. Every system like this eventually creates its own contradiction. And when Braun realizes he's not the architect, just a weapon, that's when the story truly begins. The vision isn't asking for your approval. They don't want you to cheer. They don't care if you boo. They want you to accept that this is how things are now. And the most dangerous thing is in wrestling storyline isn't the monster, it's inevitability.